Art is a great way of diversifying your investment portfolio. It's not so prone to inflation, it doesn't get affected by stocks and shares, and more importantly, you get to hang it on your wall and enjoy it every day. Hi, I'm Matthew Coles, and after over 30 years of working with art collections and art collectors, here are 8 things everyone should consider before investing in art. First of all, you need to decide whether you're going to invest in art because of your passion for the art or just because it's a good investment for you. The only thing you do need to bear in mind is if you are going to invest in art, you are looking at the long term, probably 10 years at least. So the next thing you need to bear in mind is that there are additional costs as well as just the value of the painting. So you have to think about the buyer's premium, insuring it, making sure that the cost of getting it back to your home. Once it's back in your home or back in storage, you need to make sure that that storage and environment is suitable for that piece of art. If you're buying from abroad, you also have to consider the costs of shipping that piece into the UK, and there, as well as the transport costs, there may well also be VAT and import costs as well. Generally, we would advise at least a minimum of 30% on top of the original purchase price. Which area of the market you go into does rather depend on your budget. Just like anything else in terms of investment, there will be some things that will be higher risk than others. If you have the money and you go at the top end, the blue chip end, you know that you're going to get a return on your money. But if you get towards the middle market, the lesser known artists, you might be a little bit more speculative, but your return could be actually much greater if the artist that you've chosen becomes more and more popular and his market goes up. But there is a risk because the market could go down as well. An alternative is prints. Prints are a much cheaper form of art. It's you can pick up a print for less than £1,000, and they are easier to resell too. So for a small investment, prints might be a better choice than going for original works of art. And that leads us into researching what you're going to buy. This is probably the most important thing that you need to do. There are many resources out there now online that will help you with the research. So you need to look into the artist, his biography, where he or she has exhibited, any awards that they might have been given as well. That's quite a consideration. And also which galleries represent them too. That could be a factor that is an indication to show that the artist is on the up or is already recognised within the art market. The other thing that's much easier to do these days is to study the prices for the artist. With all the sales databases that are available now, you can go onto many of the auction rooms or some of the aggregating websites. They will give you plenty of ideas of what the artist might fetch at auction. It's important to compare the auction prices and not compare those with the gallery prices, because these are two entirely different scales of value. And of course, always compare similar works. So an oil, compare that to another oil, not to a watercolour or a print. And the size of the work too. So always make sure that you're comparing like for like as much as you possibly can. Before you buy any work of art, make sure you know where it's come from. So the provenance of the item, the history of it is always very important to know. Also the condition of it. You really want to have something that's in a good condition, preferably something that's ready to hang on the wall. If it isn't, that's fine, but you just need to factor in the cost of the restoration and how that restoration might affect the value of that picture ultimately when you come to sell it on. Investing in art can take a long time. Some works can go up in value very quickly, but normally you would probably have to expect at least 5, maybe more 10, even 15 years before you can get any return on any painting that you might have. And when you do decide to resell it, bear in mind that it can take a long time from the time that you can sign a work of art and actually put it into an auction to sell, or if you're with a gallery, it could take even longer. Probably with an auction, you're talking about 8 to 12 weeks before you will actually see the item go into a sale, and then you have the whole process after the sale of the buyer paying and receiving that money and bringing it back to the client, the vendor. That all can take a little bit of time. For us, it's about a month between the sale and the proceeds going out to the vendor. Lastly, Just as with any other investment that you may make, there is a risk in buying art. Prices are not guaranteed to go up, and in some areas of the art market, values have actually dropped quite considerably over the years, so there is a risk involved. Beware of fakes and forgeries, and if you can get a work authenticated beforehand, so much the better. Expert opinion on works of art can change over time, and where one expert may think that a work of art is by a particular artist, another generation may have a different opinion. It's just the way the art market works, unfortunately, and sometimes you may have what you think is an original work now, it may turn out not to be quite the case in years to come. And bear in mind that there is no definite timescale to selling a work of art. It can take months before you have a successful sale, so there's no guarantee of getting liquidity straight away. It can take time. So if you're ready to make an investment in art, then buying from auction is a great place to start. You get some great prices, and if you've done the research and you're confident enough, you can't go wrong.